Reading through the Bible in 1 year, July 3rd, Joshua chapter 5 verse 1 through chapter 6 verse 5, Psalms 132 through 134, Isaiah 65, and Matthew chapter 13. Now it happened, when all the kings of the Amorites who were beyond the Jordan to the west, and all the kings of the Canaanites who were by the sea, heard how Yahweh had dried up the waters of the Jordan before the sons of Israel until they had crossed, that their hearts melted, and there was no spirit in them any longer because of the sons of Israel. At that time Yahweh said to Joshua, "Make for yourself flint knives, and circumcise again the sons of Israel the second time." That sounds kind of weird. How can it be circumcised twice? I'm going to read the note here from the ESV Study Bible. Circumcision was widely practiced in the ancient Near East. Jeremiah chapter 9, verse 25 through 26. But not universally. The Philistines were not circumcised, nor apparently were some of the inhabitants of Canaan. Unlike its significance in Egypt, for instance, where circumcision marked a rite of passage, in Israel circumcision was a sign of the covenant instituted by Yahweh in Genesis chapter 17, and was to be administered to all males when they were 8 days old. The need to circumcise the Israelite men under Joshua's command a second time is explained in Joshua chapter 5, verse 4, continuing in, starting over, words are hard. It's in this chapter. We'll get there, right? The use of flint knives, even in a time period when metal instruments had been developed, may attest to the antiquity of the practice. Or it may have to do with the need for many instruments at one time. Flint, or obsidian, was readily available and was particularly well suited. An Egyptian text, dated to the 23rd century BC, speaks of 120 young men being circumcised at one time. The inscription on a similarly dated Egyptian tomb relief depicting circumcision indicates that flint knives were used. Continuing on with verse 3 here. So Joshua made himself flint knives and circumcised the sons of Israel at Gibeah Haharaloth. There we go. Now, this is the reason why Joshua circumcised them. All the people who came out of Egypt who were males, all the men of war, died in the wilderness along the way when they came out of Egypt. For all the people who came out were circumcised, but all the people who were born in the wilderness along the way as they came out of Egypt had not yet been circumcised. For the sons of Israel had walked 40 years in the wilderness until all the nation, that is, the men of war who came out of Egypt, were completely destroyed, because they did not listen to the voice of Yahweh, to whom Yahweh had sworn that he would not let them see the land which Yahweh had sworn to their fathers to give to us, a land flowing with milk and honey. And their sons, whom he raised up in their place, Joshua circumcised, for they were uncircumcised, because they had not yet circumcised them along the way. Now it happened that when they had completely words are hard today. Starting back over, verse 8. Now it happened that when they had completed circumcising all the nation, they remained in their places in the camp until they were healed. Then Yahweh said to Joshua, "Today I have rolled away the reproach of Egypt from you." So the name of that place is called Gilgal to this day. Gilgal meaning rolling. Then the sons of Israel camped at Gilgal and celebrated the Passover on the evening of the 14th day of the month, on the desert plains of Jericho. And on the day after the Passover, on that very day, they ate some of the yield of the land, unleavened cakes and roasted grain. Then the manna ceased on the day after they had eaten some of the produce of the land. So the sons of Israel no longer had manna, but they ate some of the produce of the land of Canaan during that year. Now it happened when Joshua was by Jericho, that he lifted up his eyes and looked, and behold, a man was standing opposite him with his sword drawn in his hand. And Joshua went to him and said, "Are you for us, or for our adversaries?" And he said, "No. Rather, I indeed come now as commander of the host of Yahweh. He's neither for them nor for their adversaries. He is solely dedicated to the work of God." And Joshua fell on his face to the earth and bowed down and said to him, What has my Lord to say to his slave? And the commander of the host of Yahweh said to Joshua, "Remove your sandals from your feet, for the place where you are standing is holy." And Joshua did so. Now, Jericho was tightly shut in because of the sons of Israel. No one went out and no one came in. And Yahweh said to Joshua, "See, I have given Jericho into your hand with its king and the valiant warriors. And you shall march around the city, all the men of war, circling the city once. You shall do so for 6 days. Also, 7 priests shall carry 7... I'm making sure we don't lose the notes here. Also, 7 priests shall carry 7 trumpets of ram's horns before the ark. Then, on the 7th day, you shall march around the city 7 times, and the priests shall blow the trumpets. And it will be that when they make a long blast with the ram's horn, and when you hear the sound of the trumpet, all the people shall shout with a great shout, and the wall of the city will fall down beneath itself. And the people will go up, every man straight ahead. And that is all the notes to hear. Let's move on to Psalms 132 through 134. Remember, O Yahweh, on David's behalf, all his affliction, how he swore to Yahweh and vowed to the mighty one of Jacob. Surely I will not come into my house, nor lie in the comfort of my bed. I will not give sleep to my eyes, or slumber to my eyelids, until I find a place for Yahweh, a dwelling place for the mighty one of Jacob. Behold, we heard of it in Ephrathah. We found it in the fields of Jaar. Let us come into his dwelling place. Let us worship at the footstool of his feet. Arise, O Yahweh, to your resting place, you and the ark of your strength. Let your priests be clothed with righteousness, and let your holy ones sing for joy. For the sake of David, your servant, do not turn away the face of your anointed. Yahweh has sworn to David a truth from which he will not turn back. Of the fruit of your body I will set upon your throne. If your sons keep my covenant and my testimony, which I will teach them, their sons also shall sit upon your throne. For Yahweh has chosen Zion, and he has desired it for his habitation. This is my resting place forever. Here I will inhabit, for I have desired it. I will abundantly bless her provision, and I will satisfy her needy with bread. Her priests also I will clothe with salvation, and her holy ones will sing loudly for joy. There I will cause the horn of David to spring up. I have prepared a lamp for mine anointed. His enemies I will clothe with shame, but upon him his crown shall blossom. Psalm 133. Behold, how good and how pleasant it is for brothers to dwell together in unity. It is like the good oil upon the head, coming down upon the beard, Aaron's beard, coming down upon the edges of his robes. It is like the dew of Hermon, coming down upon the mountains of Zion. For there Yahweh commanded the blessing, life forever. Psalm 134. Behold, bless Yahweh, all you slaves of Yahweh, who stand in the house of Yahweh by night. Lift up your hands to the sanctuary and bless Yahweh. May Yahweh bless you from Zion, who made heaven and earth. Now Isaiah 65. I permitted myself to be sought by those who did not ask for me. I permitted myself to be found by those who did not seek me. I said, here am I, here am I, to a nation which did not call on my name. I have spread out my hands all day long to a rebellious people, who walk in the way which is not good, following their own thoughts, a people who continually provoke me to my face, offering sacrifices in gardens and burning incense on bricks, who sit among graves and spend the night in secret places, who eat swine's flesh, and the broth of offensive meat is in their pots, who say, keep to yourself, do not come near me, for I am holier than you. These are smoke in my nostrils, a fire that burns all the day. Behold, it is written before me, I will not keep silent, but I will repay. I will even repay into their bosom both their own iniquities and the iniquities of their fathers together, says Yahweh, because they have burned incense on the mountains and reproached me on the hills. Therefore I will measure their former work into their bosom. Thus says Yahweh, as the new wine is found in the cluster, and one says, do not make it a ruin, for there is benefit in it. So I will act on my behalf of my, So I will act on behalf of my slaves, in order not to make all of them a ruin. I will bring forth a seed from Jacob, and a possessor of my mountains from Judah. Even my chosen ones shall possess it, and my slaves shall dwell there. Sharon will be a pasture land for flocks. Excuse me. And the valley of Achor a resting place for herds, for my people who seek me. But you who forsake Yahweh, who forget my holy mountain, who set up a table for fortune, and who fill cups with mixed wine for destiny, I will destine you for the sword, and all of you will bow down to the slaughter, because I called, but you did not answer. I spoke, but you did not hear. And you did what was evil in my eyes, and chose that in which I was not pleased. Therefore, thus says Lord Yahweh, behold, my slaves will eat, but you will be hungry. Behold, my slaves will drink, but you will be thirsty. Behold, my slaves will be glad, but you will be put to shame. Behold, my slaves will shout joyfully with a merry heart, but you will cry out with a pained heart, and you will wail with a broken spirit. And you will leave your name for a curse to my chosen ones. And Lord Yahweh will put you to death. But my slaves will be called by another name, because he who is blessed in the earth will be blessed by the God of truth. And he who swears in the earth will swear by the God of truth, because the former distresses are forgotten, and because they are hidden from my sight. For behold, I am creating a new heavens and a new earth, and the former things will not be remembered or come upon the heart. But be joyful and rejoice forever in what I create. For behold, I create Jerusalem for rejoicing, and her people for joy. I will also rejoice in Jerusalem, and be joyful in my people. And there will no longer be heard in her the voice of weeping and the voice of crying. No longer will there be heard in it, rather, no longer will there be in it an infant who lives but a few days, or an older man who does not fulfill his days. For the youth will die at the age of 100, and the one who does not reach the age of the... Starting back over. I'm just going to read verse 20 again. One moment. No longer will there be in it an infant who lives but a few days, or an old man who does not fulfill his days. For the youth will die at the age of 100, and the one who does not reach the age of 100 will be thought accursed. They will build houses and inhabit them. They will also plant vineyards and eat their fruit. They will not build and another inhabit. They will not plant and another eat. As for the lifetime of a tree, so will be the days of my people, and my chosen ones will wear out the work of their hands. They will not labor in vain, or bear children for terror. For they are the seed of those blessed by Yahweh, and their offspring with them. And it will be that before they call, I will answer. And while they are speaking, or rather, while they are still speaking, I will hear. And the wolf and the lamb will graze together, and the lion will eat straw like the ox, and dust will be the serpent's food. They will do no evil, nor act corruptly in all my holy mountain, says Yahweh. Let's close today in Matthew chapter 13. On that day, Jesus went out of the house and was sitting by the tree. Starting over, by the sea. Man, I'm telling you, just some days are like this. Just when you're doing Bible reading on your own, it's just going to happen. You just got to roll with it, reread the line again until you get it, and then move forward. So starting back over at verse 1, on that day Jesus went out of the house and was sitting by the sea. And large crowds gathered to him, so that he got into a boat and sat down, and the whole crowd was standing on the beach. And he spoke many things to them in parables, saying, Behold, the sower went out to sow. And as he sowed, some seeds fell beside the road, and birds came and ate them up. And others fell on the rocky places, where they did not have much soil, and immediately they sprang up, because they had no depth of soil. But when the sun had risen, they were scorched, and because they had no root, they withered away. And others fell among thorns, and the thorns came up and choked them out. And others fell on the good soil, and were yielding a crop, some 100-fold, some 60, and some 30. He who has ears, let him hear. Again, there's that line again about he who has ears to hear, or he who has ears. Well, of course, everybody has ears. Some people are deaf, some people can hear better than others. But the point being made is that let the elect, those who have the Holy Spirit of God within them, who can understand what it is he's saying, let them who have ears of the Holy Spirit hear and understand. Verse 10. And the disciples came to him and said to him, Why do you speak to them in parables? Jesus answered and said to them, To you it has been given to know the mysteries of the kingdom of heaven, but to them it has not been given. For whoever has, to him more shall be given, and he will have an abundance. But whoever does not have, even what he has shall be taken away from him. Therefore, I speak to them in parables, because while seeing, they do not see, and while hearing, they do not hear. And even what has, I totally lost my spot. Here we go. And while hearing, they do not hear, nor do they understand. And in them, the prophecy of Isaiah is being fulfilled, which says, You will keep on hearing, but will not understand. You will keep on seeing, but will not perceive. For the heart of this people has become dull, and with their ears they scarcely hear, and they have closed their eyes, lest they would see with their eyes, and hear with their ears, and understand with their heart, and return, and I would heal them. But blessed are your eyes, because they see, and your ears, because they hear. For truly I say to you, that many prophets and righteous men desired to see what you see and did not see it, and to hear what you hear and did not hear it. Hear then the parable of the sower. When anyone hears the word of the kingdom and does not understand it, the evil one comes and snatches away what has been sown in his heart. This is the one on whom the seed was sown beside the road, and the one on whom a seed was sown in the rocky places. This is the man who hears the word and immediately receives it with joy, yet he has no root in himself, but is only temporary. And when affliction or persecution arises because of the word, immediately he falls away. This is what we would call a false convert, somebody who emotionally clings to some idea of Christian identity. But the minute that things get hard, the minute that their friends or people at work start making fun of them because they're Christians, or perhaps the minute that they're faced with any kind of a choice, whether to serve God or to go have fun and get drunk with your friends, they always fall after that which most pleases their own heart, not that which most glorifies God. Continuing on. And the one on whom seed was sown among the thorns, this is the one who hears the word. And the worry of the world and the deceitfulness of wealth choke the word, and it becomes unfruitful. And the one on whom seed was sown on the good soil, well, this is the man who hears the word and understands it, who indeed bears fruit and brings forth some 100-fold, some 60, and some 30. He presented another parable to them, saying, the kingdom of heaven may be compared to a man who sowed good seed in his field, but while his men were sleeping, his enemy came and sowed tares among the wheat and went away. But when the wheat sprouted and bore grain, then the tares became evident also. And the slaves of the landowner came and said to him, Sir, did you not sow good seed in your field? How then does it have tares? And he said to them, an enemy has done this. Well, the slaves said to him, do you want us then to go and gather them up? But he said, no. For while you are gathering up the tares, you may uproot the wheat with them. Allow both to grow up together until the harvest. And in the time of the harvest, I will say to the reapers, first gather up the tares and bind them in bundles to burn them up. But gather the wheat into my barn. He presented another parable to them, saying, the kingdom of heaven is like a mustard seed, which a man took and sowed in his field. And this is the smallest of all seeds. But when it is fully grown, it is the largest of the garden plants, and becomes a tree, so that the birds of the air come and and nest in its branches. He spoke another parable to them. The kingdom of heaven is like leaven, or yeast, which a woman took and hid in 3 sata, or measures of flour, until it was all leavened. All these things Jesus spoke to the crowds in parables. He was not speaking to them without a parable, so that what was spoken through the prophet might be fulfilled, saying, I will open my mouth in parables. I will utter things hidden since the foundation of the world. Then he left the crowds and went into the house. And his disciples came to him and said, explain to us the parable of the tares of the field. And he answered and said, well, the one who sows the good seed is the Son of Man, and the field is the world. And as for the good seed, these are the sons of the kingdom. The tares are the sons of the evil one. And the enemy who sowed them is the devil. And the harvest is the end of the age, and the reapers are angels. So just as the tares are gathered up and burned with fire, so it shall be at the end of the age. The Son of Man will send forth his angels, and they will gather out of his kingdom all stumbling blocks and those who commit lawlessness, and will throw them into the fiery furnace. In that place there will be weeping and gnashing of teeth. Then the righteous will shine forth as the sun in the kingdom of their Father. He who has ears, let him hear. The kingdom of heaven is like a treasure hidden in the field, which a man found and hid again. And from joy over it, he goes and sells all that he has to buy that field. Again, the kingdom of heaven is like a merchant seeking fine pearls. And upon finding one pearl of great value, he went and sold all he had and bought it. Again, the kingdom of heaven is like a dragnet that's been cast into the sea, gathering fish of every kind. And when it was filled, they drew it up onto the beach, and they sat down and gathered the good fish into containers, but the bad they threw away. So it will be at the end of the age. The angels will come forth and take out the wicked from among the righteous, and will throw them into the fiery furnace. In that place there will be weeping and gnashing of teeth. Have you understood all these things? They said to him, Yes. And he said to them, Therefore, every scribe who has become a disciple of the kingdom of heaven is like a head of a household, who brings out of his treasure things new and old. Now, it happened that when Jesus had finished these parables, he departed from there, and he came to his hometown and began teaching them in their synagogue, so that they were astonished and said, Where did this man get this wisdom and these miraculous powers? Is not this the carpenter's son? Is not his mother called Mary, and his brothers James and Joseph and Simon and Judas? And his sisters, are they not all with us? Where then did this man get these things? Or get all these things? And they were taking offense at him. But Jesus said to them, A prophet is not without honor, except in his hometown and in his own household. And he did not do many miracles there because of their unbelief. That's it. That's all the notes, and that is all of the text for today. So, God willing, we'll be back tomorrow. Behold, the word of the Lord.